Hey everyone, it's Talia here. Welcome back to another tutorial video on my channel. Today I'm going to show you guys how to do these super easy galaxy nails. And with this specific galaxy nail design, it is all about the layers. There is so much stuff embedded in all of these different elements of the design. I can't wait to get started here and show you guys how we came up with these. Let's jump in. On the galaxy nails, I'm going to take Light Elegance's Sexy Lexi, which is a kind of an iridescent purple. There's a lot going on to this specific purple, and all I'm going to do is I'm going to put it kind of at like a messy diagonal right at the free edge, and then I'm also going to put it as a messy diagonal right at her cuticle. What I want essentially is the galaxy to just be flowing through the middle of the nails. When I was applying the gel, I ended up getting a little tail of color there, so I'm going to show you guys how I cleaned it up. First, I'm going to clean up her cuticles with my Ugly Duckling Omni tool. Then I'm going to go in with a clean gel brush and just swipe straight down the middle to clean up that line. You don't want the line to be perfect because you're going to cover it over top of the line with the next step anyway. After that color has cured, we're going to remove the dispersion layer and we're going to go in with Fusion's Paints Purple 102. It has a really fine sparkle to it, but the reason that I'm using Fusion paints is because they cure to a tack-free finish, and I had the idea of going in and making the Milky Way look chrome. So after I've applied it in the line, I'm just going to take this sponge tool that I got from Clear Jelly Stamper, and I'm just going to kind of dab it a little messily on the outside here. I'm going to cure the Fusion paints for exactly 30 seconds. Then I'm going to take some of the Wildflowers Chrome. This specific one is called Paisley, and it is a duochrome, so it shifts from a teal to a purple. After I have applied that, I'm just going to wipe off any of the excess dust. I'm going to go back in with the Fusion Paints 102 and my sponging tool and just kind of blend that chrome a little bit better on the outsides. Told you guys this design is all about the layers. I wanted my Galaxy Way to look a little bit more blended, so I'm going to go in with some of Light Elegance's Crystal, which is a see-through multicolored holographic glitter. I love using this for layering, or if I'm going to do any sort of hand-painted designs, using it as the background. It works really well. After that is cured, I'm going to go in with some of my Fusion 2.5. You can really use any gel here. All we want is a sticky base for some stars to adhere to. You're going to paint a thin layer, and then I'm just going to go over top of it with some of these glitter stars. I didn't particularly like the look of these ones on here, so I left them on this nail, but on the next Galaxy nails, I'm going to go in with some of the Glitter Heavens pink stars. I liked how they were a little bit flatter and how they weren't an outline, they were actually the stars. On the thumbnails, I wanted them to be super holographic and super sparkly. So I'm going to take some of Light Elegance's Disco, which is my favorite holographic multicolored silver sparkle out there. I'm painting a super thin coat because I'm going to load this with a whole bunch of glitters. I'm going to dip my Omni tool into some of the Disco, and then I'm going to pick up these dragon scales from the nail team. You guys have been asking me to use these in a design, and I thought they'd be perfect for this because they're super holographic. Now when you first see them, they look like they'd be really thick and hard to use, but they're actually really pliable and really bendable, I guess would be the best way to describe it. So I'm just going to use it exactly how I use any other loose glitter and drop it into uncured gel. To give these an extra pizzazz, I'm going to use some of the Nail Team Galaxy Hollow. Now this is meant to be applied the same way that you would a chrome, but because it's so holographic and so sparkly, I thought that I would just drop it into uncured gel as well using one of the little scoop tools on the end of my duck paddle. I ended up loving how the Fusion's Paints Purple 102 looked, so I decided to put it on her ring fingers and cover the entire nails. Now these paints are designed to go on top of a finish file nail, not be embedded, so you might have problems with product breakdown if you do them too thick. I knew I wanted her pinky nail to be covered in Swarovski crystals, but I still needed to apply a base with it. So I'm taking some of that Disco and I'm just doing a super thin layer. When I cover the nails with crystals, you're going to see a little bit of the glitter popping through. This is why I decided to cover it with a coordinating color to the crystals I'm going to be using. Because I wanted to do so many different layers and so much dimension to the nail, for me I felt like it was best to do it embedded. So I'm going to take some of my Fusions 2.5, I'm going to do a thin slip layer down, then I'm going to go in with like a bigger blob, put it on top where I want the apex to be, and float the gel exactly where I want it. You'll see how much depth and dimension just doing the embedded layer gives to the nails. All of that kind of mess that we thought we're kind of wondering what was going to happen with it just pops and stands out and makes sense. I loved how the chrome embedded really just kind of looked like a Milky Way. I thought it turned out really cool. We're going to jump a little bit ahead here to after a finished file nail. Now these are the Swarovski crystals that I'm going to use to be covering her entire nail on the pinkies. I'm going to be using Paradise Shine, Cosmo Jet, Purple Velvet, and Black Diamond. I'm also going to be using the Beamy Bejewel Me pen for all of my crystal application. When I do an entire nail covered in Swarovski crystals, I like to start with the biggest crystals first and put them straight down the middle. So this large purple crystal, and I apologize that it's out of focus, it'll go into focus soon, is an SS20. Then we're gonna slowly, gradually go down in size. So we're gonna go to an SS12, which is the Paradise Shine one. Then with the Black Diamond, I'm also gonna go in with a SS12. Then we're gonna take an SS9 right on the tip. You kind of just have to gauge your client's nails and the size of crystals that you can put on it. Next up, I like to fill in the gaps on the sides. So I'm gonna go in with some of those SS9 Purple Velvet, and I'm just gonna alternate between the different colors that I'm using. There's no rhyme or reason. I just wanted it to be a dark covered crystal nail, but with some dimension and pulling in some of those purples that we used in the other design. The glue that I'm using to apply my Swarovski crystals is the Kira Sky Base Glue. I'm really liking it right now. I'm also using these micro swabs that I get off of eBay. I'm just going to continue alternating the entire design with different sizes that kind of fit into the nails. The smallest size is an SS5. I usually am completely fine doing the nail covered in crystals, but I was not liking how many gaps there was, so I decided to go in with some of the Swarovski Crystal Pixies to kind of fill in those gaps. The Crystal Pixies are not labeled, and I should have saved the packaging. I believe this one is called Exotic East, but I could be wrong. I just liked that it kind of coordinated with the colors of crystals that I'm using. I'm taking some old builder gel that I had. I believe this brand is called Charisma, and it's just Charisma Clear. It works pretty well for Swarovski crystals and Crystal Pixies, but now that I have my Ugly Duckling Shtick It, the new version and new formula, that's what I'll be using for Crystal Pixies going forward. This one held pretty well, but I think that the Ugly Duckling one will hold significantly better. So I'm just kind of painting it wherever there's little gaps using a really thin brush. Do your best not to cover any of the Swarovski crystals that are already on the nail. Now taking a little tray directly underneath the nail, I'm gonna dump some of the Crystal Pixies on top of it. I've done this before, but the tray is like a lot lower and the Crystal Pixies just fly everywhere. This way you can only salvage some of the Crystal Pixies that fall out. I'm just going to use my finger and kind of pat them into place. Then I'm going to grab my Beamy Bejewel pen and move them around a little bit to exactly where I wanted them to be. I didn't want too many of them hanging over the free edge because I felt like then my client would snag them and they would just kind of get in the way. So I did my best to kind of feel around and see exactly where they needed to be and cover them perfectly. After you've done that, cure for a little bit longer than you usually would, just to make sure everything's set. This particular client wanted galaxy nails for a festival that she was going to. So in my nail group on Facebook, I had asked you guys for some examples of some galaxy nail designs that you had done. I was kind of drawing a blank on how to come up with something a little bit more unique than something I had done in the past for galaxy nails. And you guys came at me with some really fabulous designs. Let me just tell you that there are some crazy talented people out there, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to share your work with me. So I always leave my Facebook group in the description box below, so if you want to join it, please come. You don't have to be a professional tech. It is a very welcoming and supportive place. It is completely drama free. I do not put up with our crap, and it is a place for you to ask questions that is safe and supportive. There's a lot of interaction, and I really enjoy it, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to share all of your different nail designs with me. The main nail design that I took inspiration from was this particular one though, and the reason being is that I love the constellations that she had done. Now I am not very good at doing line work with hand painting designs, so I decided to use striping tape in this particular design. I wanted to keep sharing all these different nail art examples with you though, so I hope that you enjoyed them. I know many of you out there struggle with how to apply striping tape, so I'm hoping to give you guys some tips and tricks in this video. Typically, I like to embed my striping tape because I find that it sticks really well to a wiped surface of gel. It won't stick well to a tacky surface, so you want to make sure that you're wiping it if you're embedding it. And when you embed it, then you have the strength of the gel over top of it. So I decided to do striping tape after, so we're not going to be embedding it. So to get that layer that I was talking about, I'm going to go in with a second coat of the Fusions Paints 102. And because it cures to a tack-free finish, it's not going to need a wipe, but it's going to have that layer of gel that I find striping tape sticks a lot better to. Another tip would be to cut a really long piece of striping tape. You don't want to cut exactly the amount that you need because the stickiest part of striping tape is directly in the middle where your fingers aren't touching. So then you're going to apply the striping tape completely over the nail so the middle is touching it, then you're going to cut it. I find this way it sits down way better. For this particular design, I did end up using the little tip of the striping tape, but I'm still cutting a really long piece so I have the really sticky part, and I'm trying my best not to touch the part that I'm going to be putting on the nail. I hope that that makes sense. It's a little tricky because I did want to do the striping tape in a different design as opposed to just placing it on the nail. It worked really well doing this though, and it held really well for my client. Using Bling Queen's nails as my inspiration, you can see the picture in the background there on my phone. I'm just going to design the constellation work with these lines. On the picture that I used for inspiration, the stars are little dots, so I thought that it would be fun to incorporate Swarovski crystals as the dots in this design, which is going to act as a double purpose because it's going to help to keep the striping tape down as well. I'm alternating between sizes SS9 and SS5, just depending on whether I want big stars or little stars. Because I want as much sparkle as humanly possible on these nails, I am going to add some of the purple velvet crystals to her thumbnail. What this is going to do is it's going to tie the rest of the purple that we used in the design to her thumbnail. I'm alternating between the large crystal in the middle being an SS20, a bunch of SS9s, and then the smaller ones are SS5s. My last step is to add my top gloss. Now for this design, because the Fusion Paints cures to a tack-free finish, it also has kind of a built-in top gloss to it. So if I had not gone in over top of it with striping tape, I wouldn't even need to seal over top of it, but I do want to make sure that that striping tape lasts, so we want to seal it in. Just make sure that you're not covering the Swarovski crystals because it will take away that shine. Now that I'm adding the top gloss here, you can see how much depth and dimension is in these galaxy nails. I really love how these turned out. These are hands down one of my favorite nail designs that I've ever done. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this video. I hope that you enjoyed it. I hope it gave you some tips and tricks for how to do super easy galaxy nails. Make sure you follow me on all of my social media, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye!